Between 2002 and 2012, there were at least 6 homicides in the Philippines that were all connected to someone singing My Way by Frank Sinatra on karaoke. And while this connection seems ludicrous at first, there is some strange evidence to suggest that the killings and the song were more than just a coincidence. Karaoke is an integral part of Filipino culture to the extent that almost every home has their own karaoke machine. It is a brilliant way for friends to let loose and socialize, but there were some incidents that painted a rather dark side to this supposedly fun and harmless activity. In 2007, Romy Baligulap was singing the song My Way at a karaoke bar in the Filipino city of San Mateo. He was singing out of key, and this was particularly irritating for everyone at the bar. Despite the fact that this is a fairly common occurrence in a karaoke bar, the security guard, Robilito Ortega, asked the person to stop singing, but he refused. Romy continued singing, and Ortega eventually got a rush of blood to the head and killed him over a karaoke song. As murder motives go, this was a truly bizarre reason and generated a lot of attention in the local media. But the most peculiar thing of all was this may not have been the first time someone was killed for singing My Way on karaoke. It was then alleged that between 2002 and 2012, at least 6 people were killed in connection with singing My Way at a karaoke bar. And rather chillingly, this comes from a song that opens with the lines, "And now the end is here, and so I face that final curtain." And for many people who sang this song, the lyrics predicted what happened next. Details about the other murders are quite sparse. Both The Guardian and the New York Times say that there were at least half a dozen, or 6. However, the magazine Esquire Philippines says that there are at least 12. According to Esquire, some were killed for singing out of tune, others were killed for hogging the microphone, and quite a few were killed for singing the song on repeat for hours on end. But whether this was an urban legend or not, this was treated incredibly seriously by Filipino people. Many karaoke bars removed the song from their catalogs. Despite the seemingly crazy idea that violence would erupt over a specific karaoke song, some bars decided not to take that chance. A Filipino woman named Alisa Escanlar spoke to The Guardian about when her uncle, a police officer, was listening to a friend sing My Way at a bar. Suddenly, someone at another table started to laugh, so her uncle pulled out his gun. Thankfully, this situation resolved itself, but is yet another anecdote about the dangers of the song. But these My Way killings did not end in 2012. The Filipino publication Coconuts Manila reported another incident in 2018, where a 60-year-old man was killed during a karaoke session involving the song My Way. It read, "The karaoke and drinking session turned deadly when Basmian grabbed the mic from Caniso just when he was about to sing the Frank Sinatra classic. Things got tense, leading to a fistfight between the two. Others in the party were able to pull the two away from each other at one point, but Caniso allegedly began stabbing the victim shortly after." In 2018, the Filipino House of Representatives reviewed a bill that sought for a 10 p.m. curfew on karaoke, but did not make any specific mention of the song My Way. The more innocent explanation is that the noise from these karaoke bars is irritating for people who live nearby. The strangest measure to curb karaoke violence was when many bars hired gay men as staff, who were used as peacemakers when fights broke out. The logic behind this decision is that, since the gay men are not considered rivals for the women's attention, or rivals in singing, which karaoke machines score and rank, they can use humor to forestall macho face-offs among the patrons. And believe it or not, there are some experts that argue that the song My Way was less of a coincidence behind these killings, but a key driver in these tragedies. My Way is a song written by Paul Anka, and Sinatra's version is the most recognized cover. But there are other people who covered the song and suffered bad luck afterward. Elvis Presley covered the song at concerts throughout the 1970s, and he finally recorded it in 1977, months before his death. Although a cover, the song fitted perfectly to Elvis and his mindset at the time. He had lived his life full and did it his way, and he died not long afterward. Another famous cover came from Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. Vicious decided to sing the song as a punk anthem. Although this was controversial, it embodied the message of the song as he did it his way. Vicious was only 21 years of age during the recording, but also died soon afterward. Interestingly, both the release of My Way by Sid Vicious and Elvis came shortly after their deaths. So, could this be the same as what was happening in the Philippines? Well, there is evidence that My Way is related to these deaths, but not in the way you might expect. Instead of anything superstitious, there is tangible evidence that singing My Way could get you killed. When news got out about these My Way killings, many music experts in the Philippines were asked if the song had any sort of significance in the country, and their answer was surprisingly yes. Butch Albarracin, the owner of a Manila-based singing school, said, "I did it my way. It's so arrogant." The lyrics evoke feelings of pride and arrogance in the singer, as if you're somebody when you're really nobody. It covers up your failures. That's why it leads to fights. Rodolfo Gregorio, an amateur singer from General Santos, also provided an interesting take on the song. He said, "The trouble with my way is that everyone knows it, and everyone has an opinion." The universality of the song means that people will know straight away if you are doing a good or a bad job. If someone is seen as butchering a classic song, this might draw a negative reaction from the audience. So the song is often what sparks a conflict, and this conflict is what leads to these supposed killings. Gregorio also chillingly said, "I used to like My Way, but after all the trouble, I stopped singing it." You can get killed, but the fact that My Way could spur on so many killings still seems unbelievable. However, as I looked more and more into Filipino culture, the phenomenon made slightly more sense. If you are watching this video from the US or Europe, the chances are that you do karaoke on occasion, or never at all. And seeing someone do karaoke badly is just simply part of the fun involved. These are cultural differences that should help explain the so-called My Way killings. In the Philippines, karaoke is taken a lot more seriously and is done a lot more frequently. Obviously, almost every single Filipino person would never resort to violence in this way. But, as the New York Times points out, the odds of getting killed during karaoke may be higher in the Philippines, if only because of the ubiquity of the pastime. Social get-togethers invariably involve karaoke. Standalone karaoke machines can be found in the unlikeliest settings, including outdoors, in rural areas where men can sometimes be seen singing early in the morning. And Filipinos who pride themselves on their singing may have a lower tolerance for bad singers. The Philippines also have some socioeconomic problems, which means that violence is perhaps more common than other places. According to the Filipino journalist Henri Ichimura, life in the Philippines is hard, especially for the predominant sector of society living under the poverty line. It makes sense that karaoke, which is only about 5 pesos per song, or 9 CN dollars, became a sweet escape to forget life's struggles for a while. It also makes sense why they'd be angry at people who inadvertently ruined that sliver of peace. Similarly, Roland B. Tolentino, a pop culture expert at the University of the Philippines, said, "The Philippines is a very violent society, so karaoke only triggers what already exists here when certain social rules are broken." Another possible explanation is the role of gender in Filipino society. A lot of these fights have erupted out of a sense of male pride. Singing Sinatra is seen as a macho thing to do, and the song is often chosen by macho men. If someone laughs at their performance, then they could respond with violence. Part of the reason why Frank Sinatra is so well known in the Philippines is because the country is a former American colony and very familiar with American culture. But another aspect of American culture that the Philippines have gravitated to is gun ownership. So the more guns in a society, the more shootings that are likely to happen. And lastly, perhaps the correlation between the My Way killings was not karaoke, but the alcohol consumed during these killings. Just like karaoke, drinking is another activity that is ingrained into Filipino culture and can regularly lead to violent incidents. This is perhaps the most obvious connection that most people overlook. It should also be noted that karaoke-related violence is not limited to the Philippines. According to the New York Times report in 2010, in the past 2 years alone, a Malaysian man was fatally stabbed for hogging the microphone at a bar, and a Thai man killed 8 of his neighbors in a rage after they sang John Denver's "Take Me Home, Country Roads." Nor is it limited to Asian countries either. There was also a brawl in Seattle where a woman punched a man for his rendition of the Coldplay song Yellow. Ultimately, the connection between singing the song My Way and getting killed are most likely only coincidences. But if you find yourself in a karaoke bar in the Philippines with the microphone in your hand, maybe sing Fly Me to the Moon instead.